Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif thanked Donald Trump profusely for mentioning his country's cooperation in arresting a key terrorist involved in the 2021 Kabul airport bombing. Reports now suggest that the US president might ban Pakistanis from entering the United States of America. A report by media agency Reuters has stated, citing sources, that people from Pakistan and Afghanistan could be barred from entering the United States over security risks. The ban could come into effect as soon as next week. The report also says that the Trump administration has prepared a list for the travel ban based on his government's review of security risks associated with different countries. Now remember, this brings back memories of Trump's first term when he banned travelers from 7 Muslim-majority nations that included Iran, Libya, Iraq, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. He had placed a 120-day ban on refugees entering America, claiming that the step was necessary to protect the US and its national security. Now, this potential new ban could impact several Afghans who are in line for resettlement in the US as refugees or on special immigrant visas. It could also impact thousands of Pakistanis who travel annually to the US for various reasons. Now, we'll have to see when it happens and if it happens, but this move clearly points to where Pakistan stands in global perception, as well as how US is going to be dealing with Afghanistan after wreaking chaos in the country. To understand more of what could happen and its implications, on the show, I'm joined by Raymond Vickery. He is a former Assistant Secretary of Commerce, joining us from US. I'm also joined by Maroof Raza, consulting editor, Times Network, and Faraz Saeed, journalist from Pakistan, is joining us. Good evening and namaskar to all of you gentlemen. Raymond Vickery, let me start with you. Is a travel ban 2.0 incoming? Is Donald Trump now going to be including Afghanistan and Pakistan in that very list of the 7 Muslim-majority nations as well?
Well, thanks very much for having me. It seems counterintuitive that a president could praise Pakistan for turning over a terrorist in one breath and in the other breath ban Pakistanis from coming to the United States. But this is entirely possible. I think you have to understand the mindset of President Trump. First of all, he's a very transactional person. That is, he's not really worried about the relationship between Pakistan and the U.S., or he's worried about a particular transaction. The second point is that he is a reality TV star. He wants something that will show him to his base, his audience, as a great person, and that means, in his view, an America First approach. Now, it seems that if the ban is imposed, that plays to his base in that the base of MAGA are anti-foreigner, certainly anti-Islamic, and that would go forward. At the same time, the praising of Pakistan for the terrorist who was involved in Abigate plays into his reality TV, if you will, narrative about how terrible Joe Biden was and how competent he is. So these two things are entirely possible. I think for a country like India, another great democracy, it means that, yes, you have to continue what Minister Jaishankar is doing in terms of giving Trump some sort of triumph and combining that with a great deal of flattery. But overall, I think that other democracies are going to have to make common cause with folks other than the United States, Japan, Australia, Western Europe, if you will, based upon values, because the transactional, what's in it for me approach is not sustainable in the long run, in my view, although in this instance, it certainly could happen.
Okay. Faraz Saeed, you want to come in on this? How is Pakistan viewing these reports, the fact that your country could be on that list when Donald Trump does come up with a travel ban?
Thank you for having me on your show. I mean, that's a true remark. Under his last presidency, he did mention 7 countries where the U.S. administration back then was not handing out visas. I think this time it's not going to be the repetition of what he was doing in his previous presidency. I would agree with Raymond. Trump's administration is very transactional. As soon as he took oath, the first thing what he did was he blocked all of the aid programs, including those programs which were operating in Pakistan. However, in the series of latest moves, he unlocked 400 about around $400 million worth of aid, which is supposed to monitor F-16 program in Pakistan. Subsequently, acknowledging Pakistan's efforts in handing over the ISKP leadership to the United States, bringing him to the justice. I think Trump's moves are very, very uncharted, uncalled for, because again, his transactional relationship is also hurting his closest of allies. Look at Germany building up huge military funding. Look at the French, where Macron has raised alarm over Trump's move on NATO, where he's talking nuclear from the European response towards the Russian, supposed move in Ukraine. So, I mean, Trump may, edge towards such development where he might sanction some of the countries that might include Pakistan. He did that before. But I think Pakistanis are also gearing up, and they were expecting that Trump may end up doing this, which is why the handling of ISKP leader to Trump at this very crucial moment, I suspect that this move will not go forward, and because it is just reports so far, I don't think a Trump administration would actually go along with such development, because Pakistan is
Okay.
basically handing over whatever the Trump's administrations is actually demanding.
Okay, Maroof Raza, you want to come in on this? Would the 2021 terror accused return satiate Donald Trump's concerns about national security risks as far as Pakistan is concerned?
The handling over of ISKP leader to Trump
Faraz, I'll come back
that
to you. This was
satisfies
for
the very
Maroof Raza.
okay.
Okay.
Maroof Raza,
Lots
you
of
want to go
ground has
ahead?
been covered by the
Yeah.
two respondents to your question. The issues are as follows. Firstly, Pakistan has always played a game of smoke and mirrors for a long time. And it has got away with it because there is a strong lobby in favor of Pakistan in Washington that believes all sorts of support to Pakistan, from military aid to money to intelligence agencies to freeing trouble creators from Pakistan from going into the docks. They are all aware that all this is essential part of the game America plays with Pakistan. But what is needed to be understood is that Pakistan is now on borrowed time. It's not going to be allowed with Trump, at least for purposes of satisfying the anger in the media and the right-wing groups that support Trump in America, that Pakistan needs to be penalized. And, you can't say that a major terrorist who Trump has himself announced is being handed over to Pakistan by Pakistan to America, and Pakistan had been
Yeah.
harboring that terrorist. suddenly to turn around and say that, oh no, we are not at fault. I don't know how this guy has appeared from nowhere. How is it that Pakistan always has this pool of hardline terrorists who appear, and America needs to take aggressive action to stall their further activities like Osama bin Laden? So there's that one aspect. The second thing is
Yeah, let me get Faraz Saeed to
Pakistan.
respond to you, Maroof. Yeah, Faraz, you want to respond to what Maroof Raza is saying? You know, for the longest time, Pakistan keeps saying that we are not harboring terror on our soil, but come American pressure, and suddenly you've got all of these terrorists popping up, which you want to exchange with the US to satiate the current regime.
Correct a few of the facts, and I want to take you back to the history. We all suffer from historic amnesia. We think that the Frankenstein monster, which is being harbored in Afghanistan for the past 20, 30 years, it is the Pakistan's making. Therefore, however, it is not Pakistan's making. It happened in 80s and 90s when Soviet invaded Afghanistan, and the US and its allies supported, funded all these terrorist organizations against these Soviets. When Soviets left, the mess was left over for Pakistan to handle. We dealt with them. After post 20 years, again in 2021, the US left Afghanistan, and we are the entire mess in Afghanistan is left for Pakistan to handle. And it is an open secret that even today those terrorist splinter groups are operating from Afghanistan, spreading terror in Pakistan, and we have been raising these issues not just on the global forum, but primarily to the U.S. administration. So it is not a secret that somehow Pakistan brings out a top terror leadership out of nowhere, because again Pakistan has been carrying out anti-terror operation on Pak-Afghan border. Just last month, Pakistan conducted a surgical strike within the Afghan border, risking a bad relationship or worsening relationship with the Taliban regime in Kabul. So I mean, we should not suffer from historic amnesia. The Taliban, the terror groups, or the other splinter groups, they were created for a reason, and it is not just Pakistan's making. The world was there in Afghanistan in 80s and 90s, and even before 2021. And Pakistan has to suffer the mess. So it's not a hidden secret.
Faraz,
No,
is
no, no,
Any
no.
Afghanistan also
analysis
the
or
reason why
any
Pakistan ranks second in the Global Terrorism Index of 2025 out of 163 countries?
I mean, we suffer from the terror threats throughout 3 decades. Pakistan has lost hundreds of billions of dollars to the war on terror. 60 to 70,000 civilians lost their lives. I mean, this is no secret, and there is nothing to shy about it. Pakistan has been the victim of terror activities ever since
But
US
that's not the answer
withdrew
to my
from
question,
Afghanistan.
Faraz. Why is Pakistan on that list and second, ranked second? But Maroof wanted to respond to you. Maroof, go ahead.
You see, it's a preferred counter argument by Pakistanis that they are victims of terror and they have lost a lot of citizens. Should I give you some facts? One is that Raheel Sharif, when he was army chief, he carried out an operation under the pretext of rooting out terror uh, in a massive strike on its frontier regions. Now, where did they come from? Over 1 million people were displaced, people were killed. All this was done to show to the world that we are the good guys, we will kill them and remove them from Pakistan's soil. But where did they come from in the first place? That's the big question. The second thing is that Pakistan is known to have harbored terror groups right across Pakistan's borders with Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is used as a jump across terrain for terrorists and uh, various other individuals who go there, take shelter. Now, for Pakistan to turn around and say that they are being harassed for no fault of theirs is absolute nonsense. The next point is that Pakistan has this obsession by trying to show themselves as a good guy, but really they end up tying themselves up in knots. And right now also, Pakistan is trying its best to use this to draw financial funding from the West to so-called fight terror. You don't fight terror by harboring and humoring terror groups within. Pakistan knows
Yeah.
it's the victim of the terror groups that it has bred. And also, please understand that for Donald Trump or America, America's establishment has the longest running relationship with Pakistan's deep state. And they have been supplying arms, weapons, and even terror equipment to these groups to basically under the pretext of dealing with Taliban. How is it that the Taliban was a bunch of terrorists and suddenly had to be eliminated for Pakistan to have done the good
Yeah.
deed for America to push the Taliban out of Afghanistan? Very clearly, those of us who've read the
Yeah.
history
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
for
fair
our
questions, Maroof
guests to
Raza,
say
and something
that
that Pakistan needs to answer. You know, these are questions that not just India, but the world has been raising as far as Pakistan harboring terror from its soil is concerned. But I also want to shift our focus to Afghanistan. And Raymond Vickery, I want you to come in on this. Donald Trump mulling the fact that Afghanistan should be on that list, the resettlement of refugees will be, that security check of the refugees coming in from Afghanistan will be intensified, also points to the fact how this has been a classic American case of handling a situation where one regime comes, it turns a country into chaos. The other regime comes and says, we're against the previous regime's policies and therefore we're going to halt everything that they were doing. And Donald Trump is doing exactly that when it comes to Afghanistan.
Well, I think in regard to Afghanistan, you're going to find out that there is a considerable pushback in the United States against a total ban on any immigrants coming in from Pakistan because there are a very large number. I'm sorry, from Afghanistan, because in regard to Afghanistan, there are these large numbers who've already been vetted, who worked with the United States in the fight against the Taliban. And there are people on the right wing of the United States political spectrum who don't want to see those people abandoned. I think that in the case both of Pakistan and Afghanistan, the right course for the United States is to make common cause with other great democracies like India to try to bring about an institutional approach to the elimination of terrorism. That's the way to go, not to use a sledgehammer and just say, well, we're going to ban all the immigration. Oh, yeah, but we would really like to show that we've gotten a couple of guys turned over to us. That's not the way in which great democracies ought to conduct their business. And I would hope that there'd be saner heads, whether they're in the deep state or wherever they are, who would make common cause with India in terms of bringing about the kind of stability that is necessary as opposed to this just what can you do for me today approach.
Maroof, you wanna come in on how US will be now handling the Afghanistan situation, the kind of chaos that the Biden administration left behind in Afghanistan, and with Trump's second presidency? What are your expectations as far as Afghanistan is concerned?
Well, in
Who's that
regard
question
to Afghanistan, the United
Raymond, I'll
States
come back to
history
you.
that
This was for Maroof.
I'm sorry.
See, let me tell you, the American guest has made some strong points, but America always uses the shroud of democracy to cover all their foul ups. Secondly, America always uses the pretense that we will eliminate terrorism and then after a while gets sunk in the quicksands of Afghanistan, as we have seen in the recent past. And thirdly, America must understand that there are, no good terrorists or bad terrorists. It's how America perceives them. And yes, there are some hardline terrorists, but let me tell you also that America's whole approach to dealing with terrorists is that, if you're with me, you're not a terrorist. If you can be bought off, like the Taliban was bought off, suddenly you were not a terrorist. For a long time, Taliban was told that they were terrorists. And when they flew into Qatar for negotiations for a price, and suddenly America began to look the other way as far as the Taliban went. So America's double standards are a bit of a joke for all of us. And we have been crying hoarse for years to say, deal with Pakistan in a realistic way. But America refuses to do that because it doesn't serve America's strategic agenda. You know how much money America lost in Afghanistan? Something close to $100 billion in terms of weapon and equipment that they left behind and went away. And who's got it? The Taliban. Taliban's staring them on their face, and so is the Taliban looking at the Pakistan army, which was also their patrons. So it's a real cesspool of confusion that America creates. And I always use one or two terms. One is that America has the largest collection of think tanks, but they always get most strategic equations wrong. Why? Because they start with the premise, as the James Baker report said on the Iraq War, first Iraq War. They start with the premise that it is this particular line our entire think tanks and intelligence agencies have to take. And if they don't take it, they're out of a job.
Okay.
Happen again.
Okay, so we'll have to wait and watch, Maroof, how this really moves forward and whether that travel ban comes once again under Donald Trump 2.0. But thanks very much to all of you gentlemen, Faraz Saeed, Raymond Vickery and Maroof Raza, for joining us on Global Mirror and sharing your perspectives. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap on this broadcast. News and updates will continue on Mirror Now. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye. Up next is Neha Koshi with Beyond the Headline.